Around 260 million children are in employment around the world, according to the International Labor Organization. Child labor is when big companies use children to make their products and overwork them with little to no pay. We have all contributed to the purchases of fast fashion without even knowing it. But by becoming more aware and trying our best not to give these big corrupt companies our money, we can help put a stop to child labor. How is it that all these big companies and celebrities that are making millions of dollars selling their makeup, clothes, and shoes can't afford to pay their workers a livable wage and use children to make these products? In my presentation, I'll be going more into depth about what child labor is and different companies that use it. I will also be presenting different reasons as to why we should stop child labor and provide some solutions to how we can accomplish this. I will now be talking about the different types of child labor that there is and how it has affected these innocent lives. Earlier, I talked a little bit about what child labor is, but it is such a vast topic. There are different kinds of child labor, for example, child trafficking and sexual exploitation, forced labor. Children are forced to undergo these dangerous and rigorous working conditions where they are paid little to no money. These kids are forced to work for different reasons that include poverty. If the family has no resources to support themselves, oftentimes the family will send their kids out to work and bring home money, or will basically sell their kids off to big companies and sometimes higher class folks that can make use of them for their products. Most of the time they are forced into contracts that they don't even want to be in and are exposed to behaviors that they don't want to participate in. Sometimes these kids aren't even allowed to have a voice and decide what they want to do and whether they want to do it or not. Some of the children that are put into foster care systems can also be forced into labor as well. For example, in Ghana, there was this girl, Dozdi Kwablavi. Her parents passed when she was just a baby and was later adopted by. When Dodzi was only 8 years old, the woman that was supposed to be her mom sold her into sex trafficking and slavery. She was forced to work in dangerous conditions on boats, and most of the time the boats weren't even stable. When Dodzi was being sex trafficked, she turned out pregnant with someone that she despised. She had no say in whether or not she could keep the baby or even remained in the forced relationship. After she had her baby girl, she was freed, so she decided she wanted to change her life around, and now she's living her best life with her daughter, trying to make a bad situation into a good one. Another example of an innocent life that was put into a terrible condition is Set Sophia Duwakport from Ghana as well. His case was a little different to Dodzi's. He was actually sold off to traffickers for money because his parents were too sick to pay for medical expenses. Set Sophia was actually tricked and had been told lies such as he would be going to school, but when arriving to the destination he was forced to work every day for long hours where he had little to no food as well as no pay whatsoever. After 5 years, he was freed and is now going to school. I will now be discussing fast fashion and how many different companies use child labor. Fast fashion is basically where companies will exploit people of all ages, especially children, and will pay these people little to absolutely no money. There have been a lot of companies that have been exposed of using child labor and not paying these workers at all. For example, on June 25th of 2020, there was this trend going around all over social media, which was called #PayUp, which was a hashtag exposing celebrities and well-known companies for refusing to pay their workers a livable wage. One of those well-known celebrities was Kylie Jenner. Dhaka Tribune states that she was being slammed for using mostly female Bangladesh workers to make her clothes but wasn't paying them any money for the work they were doing, which is so sad and infuriating to see, because how can you be a millionaire gaining so much money from different places like your TV show, makeup, your clothes, but you can't pay the people making your products and the ones making you wealthier. Some other big companies that have been known for using child labor include some of your favorites. According to the Salon.com, companies such as Nike, Adidas, Forever 21, Fashion Nova, H&M, Gap, and Shein are some of those. Those are just a few companies that use children to make their clothes. Most people are pretty unaware of these things that are happening, which is why people still support these big companies. One of the biggest companies that has had multiple occurrences has been Shein. A lot of people have posted videos of their clothes arriving, and when they inspect them they see wrong stitching, which is so sad to see because it was probably a little kid that did the stitching and was probably yelled at for their error. After discussing why child labor is bad, I will now be coming up with some solutions we can do to help put a stop or help try and end child labor. One way we could help these children to stop being exploited is by shopping sustainably, and by that I mean shopping at the thrift store and secondhand stores and not spending so much money on these more expensive or higher end brands that probably use children and pay their workers little to no money. The Student Environmental Resource Center states that not only does sustainable shopping help you economically, but it can also mean less pollution and resources. Being a part of sustainable shopping and not supporting these big brands that exploit children, you would be helping the environment by so much and would help some of these children be freed and live the rest of their life safe and happily. Another way we can help this problem is by supporting smaller businesses, whether that be handmade clothes and handbags or even lashes and makeup. These products made by smaller business can be such a big help because by spending money on people that do their own work, there will be less clientele and sales within bigger corporations that use children to make their products. All in all, we should just stop supporting these big brands and start supporting smaller businesses to help these children get out of terrible conditions. Unfortunately, this continues to happen, but if we try and educate ourselves and each other, we can help put a stop to child exploitation. Even if these companies and big celebrities are using children to make them wealthier, we as a population would be able to put an end to this in the future. It is so sad to see that a lot of people could care less, but like I said, if we spread more awareness and keep calling these corporations out, we would be able to free these children. I hope that after talking about these big corporations and telling you different stories and cases that there have been, I was able to change your perspective or at least have gotten you to understand why people fight so hard to stop child labor.